show.
Fat Joe said that.
Fat Joe's a
Lean back.
We've been leaning back for 20 years, man. Like,
He said you crowned yourself the rat leader and you wrote the 48 laws of snitching.
I'm gonna get me in trouble. I'm for sure let you feel
After warning Tekashi, because I saw it when you sat with him. And I was like, Joe is trying to put him on right now. And
I'm gonna just be honest with you. Damn, you went there?
Yeah, I went there.
This is a sucker. Easily.
6ix9ine just flipped the internet upside down again during his sit-down with the Dancer Project. And this time, he didn't hold back at all. The second Fat Joe's name came up, Tekashi went nuclear, dropping receipts that had everyone's jaws on the floor. He didn't just clap back. He exposed Fat Joe with details that, after a little digging, turned out to be 100% facts. But before we unpack what 6ix9ine revealed, let's hit rewind for a second. See, Fat Joe's been on a non-stop mission to tear 6ix9ine down for years. Every time he's got a MIC in front of him, he finds a way to throw shade. We're talking interviews going back 2, 3 years, like that viral moment on Matt Hoffa's My Expert Opinion, where Joe went off, calling 6ix9ine every name under the sun. He painted him like the biggest snitch in hip-hop history, even comparing him to cartel informants. It was wild. The day 6ix9ine sat on that stand, Joe said, they had him in a bulletproof vest like he was testifying on El Chapo. He dragged him for putting good people behind bars, saying he ruined lives while walking free. Joe even admitted he secretly watched Tekashi's viral live, under a dummy account, just to see what the rat had to say. 2 million people tuned in. He reminded everyone, 2 million just to see a rat. The disgust in his voice said it all. And just last month, Joe was still at it, proving he's got zero chill when it comes to Tekashi. He doubled down, calling him one of the top 3 rats in hip-hop history. Yeah, he said it. If there was a Mount Rushmore for snitches, Joe swears 6ix9ine's face would be right next to Alpo's. He's part of the culture, Joe said. The most famous rat in hip-hop history. Like it or not, when people think snitch, 6ix9ine's name pops up first every time. But here's where things take a sharp left. Joe's anger wasn't just about the snitching. Nope, it goes deeper. He once claimed he actually tried to warn Tekashi about what was coming. Told him straight up the feds were circling and to move smarter. But 6ix9ine didn't listen. He kept flexing, kept playing dangerous games, and everything crashed exactly the way Fat Joe said it would. But what 6ix9ine said this time flipped that whole story on its head. Fat Joe's anger at 6ix9ine runs deeper than just street politics. It's personal. You can feel it. It's a mix of betrayal, disappointment, and frustration from a man who's been trying to outgrow the drama. He said it himself. At his age,
I'm for sure let you feel after warning Tekashi. Because I saw it when you sat with him. And I was like, Joe is trying to put him on right now. And
I'm gonna just be honest with you. Damn, you went there?
Yeah, I went there.
This is a sucker. Easily. A sucker.
Look, let me get go.
Okay.
Talk another bottle, man.
No, I ain't drink. I'm dead sober.
Crazy. Talk that talk, man.
Yeah.
No, I'm dead sober. This dude here, this type of shit, this doing, I'm convinced he wanna die. I don't wish it on him or nothing like that, but I'm convinced he's miserable in his body. He can't look in the mirror. Nah, I don't know if he gotta be. So now the man snitch, right? Cool, do you or whatever.
How did you know that?
I don't like the taunting. I try to tell him, like, what happens? Like, yo, bro, listen, I didn't know if he really did it. I didn't know.
peace matters more than beef. I'm not even 40 yet, he once said. But when you get older, you start to value peace and quiet. Still, every time someone mentions 6ix9ine's name, that calm disappears in seconds. It's like the one topic that instantly sets him off. Joe once claimed that behind closed doors, 6ix9ine wasn't the gangster he pretended to be. In fact, Joe said Tekashi admitted it straight to his face. Yo, Joe, this is just an image. I'm fronting. I'm not really doing none of that. He allegedly told him, right there in front of Shotty and the crew. Joe even pressed him about it. You sure? 'Cause if you're really doing this, you're going to end up in jail. Tekashi swore he was clean, just rapping for promotion. Joe took it as honesty at the time, but now it feels like deception. And while Joe's trying to stay cool, Tekashi's over here throwing gasoline on the fire. During his interview, 6ix9ine said loud and clear he's not out here calling names or starting beef for clout. He's not using the word snitch for attention, and is not disrespecting people who never crossed him. In fact, he doubled down, saying he didn't snitch on anyone Joe knows. According to Tekashi, the guys Joe defended, they knew exactly what was coming. He says he warned them himself. They just ignored him and kept the same circle. That's when everything went left. Then 6ix9ine decided to take it there. He mocked Fat Joe for acting like the prime minister of hip-hop, walking around like it's his duty to decide who's real and who's fake. He said Joe built his whole brand around being anti-rat, like that's the only thing keeping him relevant. For years, Joe's made it his mission to preach loyalty like it's a religion, but Tekashi basically called cap on that. He said it's done letting Joe talk unchecked. And just when things seemed to cool off,
It's the event in hip-hop that broke the camel's back. Pause. To make it to where you can snitch. And if you make good music or something, you can still live out here in hip-hop. Like, what was the straw that broke the camel's back in hip-hop, where we had a code and there is no code no more? There just isn't no code no more. And what do you think is the event that, I remember growing up, even if you was fronting, you wasn't a real gangster, but you was spitting gangster rap. You wasn't with the rats like that. Right now, this
too many of them
sold out concerts.
I don't think you can escape them. They all a rat. They're like New York City rats. Humans. There's rats everywhere. And everywhere is everything,
Too many Fredos, not enough Michaels.
That's a fact.
Some of these guys got to take a boat ride, never come back. Tammy Bull is the most famous rat on the earth.
Fat Joe, once again, brought the whole topic right back up last month. When Fat Joe sat down with Jadakiss, he admitted he'd been up late one night plotting the kind of question that could break the internet. He said it hit him out of nowhere, the perfect topic. Who started the snitching epidemic in hip-hop? And of course, the first name he dropped was 6ix9ine. That's when things crossed the line. Because for 6ix9ine, this isn't even about music anymore. He's like, what does any of that have to do with what's happening right now? That's his whole point. Fat Joe went on his usual rant, talking about Alpo, Wayne Perry, and how real ones don't tell. But somewhere in there, it stopped sounding like wisdom and started sounding personal. Joe doubled down, bringing up the courtroom days, when 6ix9ine wore a bulletproof vest like he was testifying against El Chapo. He said Tekashi put a lot of good people in jail, that his time is coming, that karma's on the way. It's heavy talk, but even fans are wondering, why is Joe still so invested? He's been saying the same story for years, like he can't let it go. And that's exactly what 6ix9ine's been calling out. The fact that Fat Joe keeps dragging his name into conversations that don't even involve him anymore. It's giving obsession, not reflection. Now, let's keep it real. 6ix9ine hasn't dropped a hit in forever. Even his own fans admit the wave isn't what it used to be. There was a time when every release went viral, every video hit millions, and the internet couldn't look away. But those days are gone. The sound changed, the fans moved on, and his music just doesn't connect like before. Still, one thing hasn't changed. Every time his name comes up, the internet explodes. Love him or hate him, 6ix9ine's name still sells headlines. And that's exactly why Fat Joe keeps bringing him up. But here's where Tekashi flipped the script completely. He said most hip-hop fans aren't even from the streets anymore, so why should street code still define the culture? And honestly, he's not wrong. Around 90% of hip-hop's listeners aren't living that life. Even in the black community, most folks didn't grow up in the kind of hood these rappers glorify. They came up in working-class homes, not trap houses. So why should fans who've never lived that reality decide who's real? For Tekashi, that logic just doesn't add up. Go to any big rap concert, Drake, Travis, even Lil Baby, and look at the crowd. Most people singing along couldn't even find the block these artists rap about. Yet, they're the ones buying tickets, streaming albums, and running up views. So why should their love for the music depend on whether a rapper followed the code? That's the part that exposes the double standard Fat Joe's holding on to. Because while Joe says Tekashi broke hip-hop's moral code, Tekashi's saying the rules themselves are outdated. And when 6ix9ine finally clapped back, he didn't dodge or deny anything. He owned it. He said, yeah, He snitched. But look around. Half these real ones did worse and still got a pass. He turned the mirror on the same people judging him and called out the hypocrisy that's been hiding behind street talk for years. To him, the real problem isn't that he broke the code. It's that he stopped pretending to live by one that everyone else already abandoned. 6ix9ine looked straight into the camera and said, "You can't talk to me about morals, integrity, or honor when you're breaking your own codes." And honestly, that line hit harder than people expected. He called out the double lives a lot of rappers are living, preaching loyalty and brotherhood in interviews, but moving foul behind closed doors.
Myself the rat leader, he crowned himself as the cap leader. He didn't rob no 50 niggas at no gym. That nigga, yo, bro, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Which one's my camera? That one?
Yeah.
This one? That one? Yeah, Fat Joe, you're a like you're. I'm not even gonna lie, you're a captain of the cap. Like nobody believe, even your co-host who's Jadakiss don't believe you. Every time you say a cap, that like, like. But like I said, you gonna go
flag, like
and
flag on the play.
And my next song, I even say, I be spitting so much facts that I make jokes to distract. That's the next bar in my song. Don't like the truth, so y'all make jokes to distract. We know this lying.
He said flat out, "Stop acting like you're the voice of the streets when your own circle doesn't even live by that energy." And the wild part? A lot of people agreed. Even fans online started saying, "He ain't lying." That's when 6ix9ine flipped the conversation in a way nobody saw coming, by bringing up Big Pun's son. He looked dead serious and said, "If Fat Joe's not lying, then bring Big Pun's son on the show." He even called him out by name, Chris Rivers. He joked that once Joe sees this clip, he'll probably hit Chris up like, "Yo, don't do that. How much you need?" That's how personal this just got. 6ix9ine wasn't just firing shots for clout. He was aiming straight at Joe's legacy. He said, "Let's talk about it," then went on to remind everyone of the time during Fat Joe's versus battle with Ja Rule, when even Pun's name had to be off limits. That's when the air got thick. Because suddenly, this wasn't about snitching or loyalty anymore. This was about Fat Joe's real-life integrity and what he's done, or hasn't done, for the people who helped him rise. Then came the bombshell. 6ix9ine said if Joe wants to speak on codes, then he needs to live by all of them. In the streets, that means you look out for your fallen brother's family. No excuses. You make sure their kids are good, their bills are paid, and their future secure. That's what loyalty really means. But according to 6ix9ine, Joe didn't do that. He brought up Big Pun's son because that whole situation is the exact opposite of what Fat Joe preaches. For years, Big Pun's family has accused him of holding on to money from Pun's music catalog that rightfully belonged to them. Imagine that. The same guy who talks about loyalty allegedly keeping profits from his brother's widow and kids. The accusations weren't just talk either. They led to a full-blown lawsuit. Fat Joe once claimed he gave Big Pun's family $1 million out of his own pocket. But Pun's wife, Lisa Rios, came forward publicly and called cap. She said they never received that money and had to take legal action just to find out what happened to the royalties. Her lawyers even explained that Joe's team tried to dismiss the case on technicalities, not by denying they owed money, but by saying she couldn't sue. According to them, the issue was deeper than contracts. It was about trust, about a duty to pay the family what they were due. In court filings, Lisa's team claimed that while they were being told no money was coming in, royalties were still being collected, just not by them. When they dug into the records, they found discrepancies in how writer splits were reflected overseas, showing funds that were never passed on to the family. It painted a whole different picture. There were payments, foreign royalties, and licensing deals, all funneling money somewhere. And that's when 6ix9ine twisted the knife, connecting the dots that left Fat Joe looking like a hypocrite in his own sermon about morals and loyalty. Because if all this is true, how can you preach codes you don't even live by? That's when the conversation stopped being about clout and started cutting deep. 6ix9ine hit a nerve when he said, "You can't preach loyalty if you left your brother's family hanging." That line flipped everything. Because now it wasn't just internet drama, it was legacy talk. In hip-hop, Questioning a man's loyalty to his fallen brother is sacred ground, and 6ix9ine stumped right on it. He basically called out Fat Joe for moral hypocrisy, saying Joe talks codes on camera but moves different when the camera is off. And let's be honest, that's a dangerous narrative for someone like Fat Joe, who's built his reputation on realness, respect, and street honor. Once you're accused of betraying someone like Big Pun, a man who helped cement your name, that stain doesn't wash off easy. The internet made sure of that. Within hours, people were pulling old clips of Pun's widow and family speaking out about money disputes, missing royalties, and broken promises. Suddenly, 6ix9ine wasn't just trolling. He was pulling receipts from the grave. Fans split like it was a courtroom trial. Half said, "Here goes 6ix9ine chasing headlines again," while the other half said, "Hold up, we've heard this before." And when you start mixing emotional legacy with financial betrayal, it hits different, especially when paperwork starts floating around. Screenshots, contracts, interviews, all painting a messy picture that's hard to ignore. Fat Joe, the man known for keeping things solid, was suddenly under the microscope for all the wrong reasons. But what this situation really exposed was something much bigger than Joe or 6ix9ine. It's the dark side of the music industry that no one likes to talk about, the way legends' families are left struggling once the fame fades and the checks stop coming. Big Pun gave the culture classics, and yet his family's been fighting for scraps for years. 6ix9ine just said what a lot of people were already whispering, that loyalty in hip-hop is loud on the MIC but quiet when the money's on the line. 6ix9ine didn't just talk his talk. He doubled down. In every new interview, he threw that same line like a dagger. "They call me fake, they call me a rat, but I never stole from nobody's family." And that hit hard, because love him or hate him, he was calling out a respected OG on the one thing hip-hop holds sacred: morals. Nobody expected 6ix9ine, of all people, to be the one forcing the culture to question its own code. But here we are. Fat Joe, on the other hand, hasn't stayed silent. His pushback, saying the story's twisted, the truth's been stretched, and has always looked out for Big Pun's people. But perception is a beast, and once that narrative shifts, it's hard to pull it back. Fans are watching every move, dissecting every statement. Because this isn't just about a feud anymore. It's about legacy, loyalty, and what happens when brotherhood collides with business. And that's the real story here. The situation stopped being about two rappers trading shots. It's now a mirror held up to the industry itself, showing how messy things get when money and morals meet. 6ix9ine came with confidence, paperwork, and the kind of conviction that had even his haters listening. For once, he didn't sound like he was chasing clout. He sounded like he was pulling the curtain back on something deeper. Now, Fat Joe's entire image, built on respect, loyalty, and street credibility, is being tested. Because if there's even a sliver of truth to these claims, it changes everything. Fans are asking the hard questions. Can you preach on if the people closest to your fallen brother say you didn't keep it real? That's what's got the streets buzzing and timelines on fire. This feud has opened old wounds in hip-hop. People are bringing up artists who never pay their dues, families still waiting for royalties, and rappers who talk loyalty while moving grimy behind scenes. 6ix9ine might have just lit a match that's forcing the whole game to face its reflection. And right now, all eyes are on Fat Joe. He might have to address this head-on, because silence only makes the whispers louder. Until he does, the internet's going to keep spinning the clips, the quotes, and the contradictions. But what do you think? Did 6ix9ine finally crack open a real truth, or is this just another case of drama turned viral? Drop your thought below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more wild stories shaking the culture. I'll see you all in the next one.